The great hall buzzed with alien voices. 12 different species sat around the huge crystal table that had been the center of galactic power for 3,000 years. Their translators worked overtime, turning clicks, whistles, and roars into words everyone could understand. Ambassador Hyunwoo Kim stood at the center podium. His gray hair was perfectly combed, and his blue uniform showed no wrinkles. But his eyes were cold as winter ice. Behind him stood Commander So-Young Park, her military jacket covered with medals from battles where human soldiers had died protecting these same aliens. Next to her, Lieutenant Tae-ho Lee held a datapad. The numbers on it told a terrible story. Millions of human lives lost defending worlds that belonged to species who called humans primitive. Hyunwoo cleared his throat. The noise in the hall died down slowly. Some aliens kept talking, showing they didn't think humans deserved respect. The Terran Federation is leaving, Hyunwoo said. His voice was calm, but it carried through the entire hall. We end all our agreements with you. No more military help, no more trade deals, no more sharing our science. This starts right now. The reaction was instant and loud. Chancellor Velthari of the Nexian Empire slammed his 4 massive arms on his desk. His purple skin turned darker with anger. You think you can threaten us humans or nothing? You crawled out of caves just yesterday. Other aliens laughed and made rude noises. The Vraxian delegate looked like a walking crystal sculpture. When he laughed, it sounded like glass breaking. Go ahead and leave. We ruled the galaxy before. Your species existed. We'll keep ruling after you're all dead. Dr. Mi Jin-han stepped forward. She had spent her whole life helping aliens. She had cured the Corlan plague that would have killed billions. She had built machines to make dead planets breathable again. She had even created the universal translator that let all these species talk to each other. But none of them cared about any of that. You don't understand, Mi-jin said quietly. We've given you everything. Our best minds, our strongest soldiers, our most advanced technology, and you treat us like servants. The hegemony representative, a creature that looked like a giant mantis, clicked its mandibles in what passed for laughter among its kind. Servants? You should be honored to serve your betters. Your technology is crude. Your warriors are weak. Your science is guesswork. Commander, So-Young Park's hand moved to her sidearm. She had led human forces in the Battle of Kepler-7, where 10,000 human Marines had died to save a hegemony colony from pirates. The hegemony had never even thanked them, but Hyunwoo raised his hand. So-Young stopped, but her eyes promised violence if anyone else insulted her fallen soldiers. We came here in peace, Hyunwoo said. 50 years ago, humanity reached the stars hoping to find friends. We found species that needed our help. So we helped. We shared our medicine when you were sick. We sent our soldiers when pirates attacked. We gave you our inventions to make your lives better. The Corlan minister, Veldran, made a disgusted sound. His blue skin was spotted with scars from the plague that Mi-jin had cured. Your medicine is barbaric. Your soldiers are expendable. Your inventions are toys we could have made ourselves if we wanted to. That was when something changed in Hyunwoo's expression. For 30 years, he had believed these species could learn to work together. He had thought that kindness and cooperation would eventually win them over. Now he saw the truth that General Woo Jin Choi had tried to tell him years ago. Some beings only understood strength. Very well, Hyunwoo said. His voice was still calm, but now it was the calm before a storm. You want to be alone? You can be alone. He gathered his papers and turned toward the exit. Commander So-Young Park and Lieutenant Tae-ho Lee fell in. Stepped behind him. Their footsteps echoed in the massive hall. Behind them, the aliens kept laughing and making jokes. The Nexian Chancellor called out, "Don't let the airlock hit you on the way out." The crystalline Vraxian delegate added, "Maybe. Now we can have real discussions without human children interrupting." But Dr. Mi Jin-han turned back one last time. She looked at each alien representative, memorizing their faces. When your worlds burn and your people die, remember this moment. Remember that you chose this. The 3 humans walked toward the massive doors of the council chamber. Their steps were perfectly synchronized like soldiers marching to war. The sound was steady and final. As they reached the doors, the Emperor of the Draconian Union, a reptilian creature with golden scales, hissed something that the translator turned into words. Humans think they're so important. The galaxy will forget they ever existed. Hyunwoo stopped at the threshold. He didn't turn around, but his voice carried back to every alien in the hall. No, he said. You'll remember us. When the pirates come and no human ships protect your trade routes, you'll remember. When the plagues return and no human doctors save your children, you'll remember. When the ancient machines wake up and no human soldiers hold them back, you'll remember. The hall went quiet. For the first time, some of the aliens looked uncertain. And when you're begging for our help, Hyunwoo continued, we won't answer. Because today you taught us that mercy is weakness. You showed us that friendship means nothing to you. You made us understand that some species don't deserve to be saved. The doors closed behind the humans with a sound like thunder. The aliens sat in uncomfortable silence for a moment. Then the Nexian Chancellor laughed again, but it sounded forced. Good riddance, he said. Now we can get back to real business. But deep inside, some of the aliens felt a chill they couldn't explain. They had just made an enemy of the only species that had ever protected them from the darkness between the stars. Outside the council chamber, Hyunwoo, So-young, and Taiho walked toward their ship. None of them spoke. There was nothing left to say. The galaxy was about to learn the difference between civilization and survival, and humanity was about to teach them a lesson they would never forget. 6 months after the humans left the council meeting, strange things started happening across the galaxy. The first sign came when the lights went out on the trade routes. Captain Nam Il-jung had run Defense Station Meridian for 8 years. The station floated in space between 3 star systems, protecting the shipping lanes where alien merchants carried goods back and forth. Every day he watched the scanner screens for pirates and raiders who wanted to steal from the peaceful traders. This morning, Namil received a message from Earth. It was short and simple. Pack up and come home. He looked at his screens one more time. 3 pirate fleets were moving toward the trade routes. In 2 days, they would attack a convoy of Andorian merchants. Namil had always stopped them before. His weapons and shields were stronger than anything the pirates had, but not today. Namil turned off the defense systems. The powerful shields that protected the trade route flickered and died. The weapons that had kept pirates away for years went silent. The warning beacons that told merchants they were safe stopped broadcasting. Sir? Asked his second officer, Taihwan Seo. What about the convoy? Namil picked up his personal belongings and headed for the shuttle bay. Not our problem anymore. The same scene played out on hundreds of stations across the galaxy. Human officers received their orders and followed them without question. Defense grids that had protected alien worlds for decades simply vanished. Overnight on Kepler Prime, Dr. Yoon Ji-yoon was packing up her laboratory. For 10 years, she had worked on quantum tunnel technology, a way to move ships instantly across vast distances. The hegemony had always said her work was interesting but primitive. They had their own scientists working on similar projects, they claimed. But secretly, they had been copying everything she did. Their ships used quantum tunnels based on her designs. Their communication systems used her equations. Their entire civilization depended on technology they didn't understand. Governor Zethmar came running into her lab as she deleted her computer files. The insect-like alien was clicking his mandibles in distress. You cannot leave, he buzzed through his translator. Our whole planet uses your technology. Yoonji didn't look up from her work. She was destroying 10 years of research, making sure no alien could steal it after she left. You said our work was primitive. You said your scientists were better than us. Prove it. But the quantum tunnels will stop working, our ships will be stranded. Then fix them yourself. Yoonji finished wiping her computers and walked toward the door. You're so advanced, it should be easy for you. Zethmar tried to follow her, but human soldiers blocked his way. They had come to make sure Yoonji could leave safely with all her research. All across the galaxy, the same thing was happening. Human engineers were leaving their posts and taking their knowledge with them. Engineer Donghyun Ryu had spent 15 years building machines that turned dead planets into living worlds. The atmosphere processors he designed could make any planet breathable in just a few years. Dozens of alien colonies depended on his machines to survive. As he shut down the processors one by one, Dong-hyun remembered all the times aliens had called human engineering crude and primitive. Now they would see how crude and primitive life was without breathable air. The medical evacuation was even worse. Dr. Hai Wan-shin commanded a team of human doctors who ran hospitals on the outer rim worlds. These were dangerous places where pirates and raiders often attacked. Human medical teams were the only ones brave enough to work there. As Haewan ships lifted off from hospital after hospital, they left behind alien patients who would die without human medicine. The Korlan genetic plague was already starting to spread again. The Vraxian crystal rot was appearing in their young. The Nexian blood fever was killing their warriors. "Doctor?" asked her assistant, Kyung Min. "Oh, shouldn't we at least leave some medicine behind?" Heewon watched a Korlan child through the hospital window. The little alien was sick with the same plague she had cured years ago. It would be easy to leave medicine that would save him. "They called our medicine barbaric," she said quietly. "They said we were butchers, not doctors. Let them cure themselves." But the worst evacuation was happening on the barrier worlds. These were a chain of fortified planets at the edge of the galaxy, where something terrible lived in the darkness beyond the stars. For 40 years, human soldiers had guarded these worlds, keeping the ancient enemy asleep. Lieutenant Colonel Sunmi Ko was in charge of the final evacuation from Barrier Station Alpha. As her ships prepared to leave, she watched the automated defenses shut down one by one. Without human soldiers to maintain them, the machines would break down in weeks. "Ma'am," said her aide, Jin Woo Nam, "the deep space sensors are picking up movement. The Devourers are starting to wake up." Sunmi knew about the Devourers. Every human soldier did. They were ancient war machines left over from a civilization that had died millions of years ago. When they woke up, they ate entire star systems, turning planets into fuel for more machines. The council species didn't know about them. Humans had kept the secret, fighting the machines whenever they stirred, making sure they stayed asleep. "How long until they fully wake up?" Sunmi asked. 6 months, maybe less." Sunmi nodded. She had lost friends fighting those machines. Good, soldiers who had died to protect aliens who spat on their graves. Not our problem anymore. At the edge of the galaxy, the greatest fleet in human history was gathering. Admiral Jae-sung-won stood on the bridge of the flagship New Seoul, watching as the last human ships arrived from across the galaxy. Thousands of vessels filled the dark space between galaxies. Military ships with guns that could crack planets. Science vessels full of the brightest human minds. Colony ships carrying millions of people ready to start new lives far from the ungrateful aliens they had protected. "Sir," reported his communications officer, "all human forces have checked in. Every station is abandoned. Every base is evacuated. We're ready to leave." Jae-sung looked back at the galaxy one last time. Somewhere in those billions of stars, 12 alien species were about to learn what the universe was really like without human protection. "Take us into dark space," he ordered, "and activate the silence protocol. From now on, humanity doesn't exist to them." The human fleet turned away from the galaxy and headed into the endless darkness between the stars. Behind them, the lights of civilization grew dimmer and dimmer until they disappeared completely. The exodus was complete. Humanity had left the galaxy to its fate, and that fate was coming faster than anyone imagined. The first disaster hit the Nexian Empire 3 months after the humans disappeared. The Crimson Corsairs, a group of pirates who had been quiet for years, suddenly became bold. Without human defense stations to stop them, they attacked Colony. After Colony, Emperor Korthval sat in his golden throne room, watching reports flood in from across his empire. His forearms shook with rage as each message brought worse news. "They took the Meridian system yesterday," reported General Voxtar, his scales pale with fear. 15 billion civilians dead or enslaved. Our fleet couldn't stop them." "How is that possible?" Korthval roared. "We have the finest warships in the galaxy." "The pirates have new weapons, my lord. Technology we've never seen before. Our ships are no match for them." What the Nexians didn't know was that the pirates had been stealing human technology for years. The Crimson Corsairs had always been careful, only taking small things so the humans wouldn't notice. Now, with humanity gone, they were using everything they had stolen. Pirate Lord Sekthon stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching Nexian cities burn on the planet below. His crew was celebrating another easy victory. "Send a message to all Nexian forces," Sekthon ordered. "Tell them this. Where are your human protectors now? The galaxy belongs to the strong and you are weak." The Nexians tried desperately to contact the humans. They sent messages on every frequency they knew. They begged. They pleaded. They offered treasure and territory. But the human communication stations were silent. It was as if humanity had never existed. Meanwhile, the Corlin Republic faced a different nightmare. The genetic plague that Dr. Mi-Jin Han had cured years ago was coming back. The first cases appeared in the capital city, spreading quickly through the crowded streets. Minister Veldron stood before an emergency meeting of the Corlin Senate. His blue skin was already showing the dark spots that meant early infection. Around the room, other senators were covering similar spots with makeup and clothing. "We have 7 days before the plague reaches the outer colonies," Veldran announced. "Our best scientists are working around the clock to recreate the human cure." Senator Thisseran held her young daughter close. The child was burning with fever, one of the first to catch the returning plague. 7 days? Our children are dying now. Send envoys to find the humans. Offer them anything they want." "We have tried," Veldran said sadly. "We've sent ships. To every human colony we know about, they're all empty. The humans are gone. Then break into their laboratories. Steal their research. We tried that too. Everything is encrypted, their computers are wiped clean. It's as if they took all their knowledge with them." The truth was even worse than the Corlins knew. Dr. Mi-Jin Han hadn't just taken her research. When she left, she had made sure to destroy every trace of how the cure worked. The humans had learned their lesson about sharing knowledge with ungrateful species. But the worst was happening at the edge of the galaxy, where something ancient and terrible was waking up. Captain Jihuan Bei had been one of the last humans to fight the Devourers in open battle. Now he watched from the bridge of the stealth ship New Horizon as the mechanical horrors stirred from their long sleep. "The containment field is completely down," reported his sensor officer, Yun Seo Kim. "First wave Devourers are moving past the barrier worlds." Through the ship's powerful telescopes, Jihuan could see them. The Devourers looked like geometric nightmares made of black metal and crackling energy. Each one was the size of a small moon, powered by the captured matter of dead stars. "How many are active?" Jihuan asked. 300 and counting. They're multiplying fast, sir. Each devourer that fully wakes up can build 10 more within a week." Jihuan remembered fighting these things alongside alien allies. The Nexians had provided heavy cruisers. The hegemony had contributed their best pilots. The Corlins had shared their shield technology. Together they had barely managed to keep the Devourers asleep. But those same aliens had called the human soldiers expendable. They had said human tactics were crude, and human weapons were primitive. They never understood that humans weren't fighting for glory or territory. They were fighting to keep everyone alive. "Should we warn the council species?" Yun Seo asked. Jihuan was quiet for a long moment. He thought about all the friends he had lost in the Devourer Wars, human soldiers who had died protecting aliens who despised them. "They wanted independence from human interference," he said finally. "Let them have it." The first Devourer ships moved into inhabited space like a plague of metal locusts. Their sensors detected the electromagnetic signatures of living worlds and set course for the closest targets. The hegemony colony of Vega 7 was the first to die. The insects who lived there had always prided themselves on their advanced technology. Their planetary shields were supposedly the strongest in the galaxy. The Devourers punched through those shields like they were made of paper. In 6 hours, a thriving world with 8 billion inhabitants became a lifeless rock. The Devourers had consumed everything, the atmosphere, the oceans, even the planet's core, and turned it all into raw materials for building more machines. Across the galaxy, other species were starting to realize the scope of the disaster. The Vraxians, with their crystal cities and their arrogant attitudes, watched in horror as entire star systems went dark. The Draconian Union, whose golden-scaled warriors had mocked human soldiers, saw their mighty fleets destroyed by enemies they didn't understand. The Andorian Federation, whose merchants had refused to pay for human protection, watched their trade routes burn as pirates took everything they owned. And through it all, not a single human ship came to help. The silence from humanity was complete and terrifying. Species that had known human voices for 50 years suddenly found themselves alone in a universe that was much more dangerous than they had ever imagined. Some aliens began to understand what they had lost. The humans hadn't been servants or junior partners. They had been the only thing standing between civilization and chaos. But understanding came too late. The galaxy was already burning, and the humans were nowhere to be found. In the depths of space, Admiral Insu Park monitored the destruction from his command ship Hidden Light. His orders were clear: document everything, but don't interfere. "Sir," reported his intelligence officer, Bo-Ra Song, "we're receiving hundreds of distress calls. The aliens are begging for help." Insu listened to the messages for a moment. The proud aliens who had laughed at humanity were now crying like children, pleading for someone to save them. "Any response from Earth Command?" he asked. "No, sir. Complete radio silence." Insu nodded. The lesson was hard but necessary. The galaxy needed to learn that mercy was a gift, not a right. And gifts could be taken away. The reckoning had begun, and there was no one left to stop it. 9 months had passed since humanity disappeared, and the great council chamber that once echoed with arrogant laughter now filled with screams of panic and despair. Chancellor Velthari of the Nexian Empire stood before the emergency assembly, but he was not the same proud leader who had mocked humans months ago. His purple skin had faded to a sickly gray, and his 4 massive arms trembled with exhaustion. Half his empire was gone, consumed by pirates or abandoned by fleeing colonists. "The Crimson Corsairs have taken 18 systems," he announced, his voice cracking. "Our fleets are scattered. Our colonies are burning. We have lost contact with the Outer Rim entirely." Around the chamber, other alien delegates shared equally terrible news. The hegemony representative, a mantis-like creature, named Zaxth, clicked her mandibles in distress. "The Devourers have consumed the entire Kepler sector," she buzzed. 43 worlds, 60 billion lives, gone in 2 weeks. High above the chamber, hidden from alien sensors, Ambassador Su Jin-Oh watched from the observation deck of the stealth ship Silent Thunder. Her mission was simple: record everything for future human historians. What she saw was the death of civilizations that had forgotten the price of arrogance. The few remaining council delegates argued desperately over solutions that would never work. "We must rebuild the defense networks ourselves," declared the Vraxian delegate, his crystalline body flickering with stress. The crystal cities of his people were cracking under the pressure of constant refugee fleets. "With what knowledge?" snapped Minister Veldran of the Corlin Republic. His once blue skin was now covered with plague spots that he couldn't hide anymore. "Our best engineers couldn't even understand human gravity generators, let alone their quantum defense systems." The truth was becoming clear to all of them. For 50 years, they had lived in comfort and safety, protected by human technology they had never bothered to understand. They had called it primitive while secretly depending on it for everything. Sujin activated her recording device as Chancellor Velthari finally spoke the words every human had been waiting to hear. "We were wrong," the massive alien admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "We were fools to dismiss human contributions. Their absence has shown us that we were never as advanced as we believed." The confession came far too late. Even as Velthari spoke, Admiral Insu Park was monitoring the approaching Devourer fleets from his position in the darkness between galaxies. The mechanical swarm had grown beyond anyone's worst nightmares. Each consumed world provided materials for 1,000 new war machines. "The outer rim is completely gone," reported his intelligence officer Bo-Ra Song. 23 species extinct in 8 months. The inner systems won't last another year at this rate. Insu studied the tactical displays with the cold professionalism of a soldier who had seen too much death. As a young officer, he had fought these same machines alongside alien allies, believing in the dream of galactic cooperation. That dream had died in the council chambers, killed by pride and stupidity. "Sir," Bo-Ra continued, "we're picking up massive communication bursts from the council. They're broadcasting on every frequency we ever used, begging for human assistance." Insu pulled up the messages on his screen. The aliens were offering everything they had once refused to give: complete sovereignty over human space, access to all their technological databases, formal recognition as the galaxy's protector species, even tribute payments for protection. "Any response from Earth Command?" Insu asked. "No, sir." Admiral Kyung-ho, Seo maintains the silence protocol. No human ship is to respond to alien communications under any circumstances. Back in the council chamber, the situation was getting worse by the hour. Some delegates were blaming others for humanity's departure, while desperate leaders proposed increasingly wild schemes to contact the missing humans. The Emperor of the Draconian Union, his golden scales now dull with despair, suggested sending ships to search every star system in the galaxy. They must be hiding somewhere. Humans couldn't just disappear. But Delegate Thisern of the Corlin Republic, holding her dying child in her arms, shook her head weakly. "We sent scout ships to every human colony, every human outpost, every human research station. They're all empty. It's as if humanity never existed." What the aliens didn't know was that humans were closer than they imagined. Dozens of cloaked ships watched from the shadows, recording everything but helping no one. Dr. Hae Young Kim observed from the medical ship Mercy's End as the Corlin plague spread unchecked through their populations. She had once worked 20-hour days developing treatments for their genetic disorders. She had saved millions of Corlin lives with her research. Now she watched with clinical detachment as entire family lines died from diseases she could cure with a single injection. Her medical bay was stocked with enough medicine to save every infected Corlin in the galaxy. But her orders were clear: observe only. "The irony is perfect," she noted in her personal log. "They called our medicine barbaric. They said we were butchers pretending to be doctors. They insisted their own healers were superior to us. Now they're dying from diseases we cured decades ago, and their superior healers can do nothing to help them." The aliens' final desperate message was broadcast on every frequency, in every language across the entire galaxy. To the Terran Federation, to any human who might hear this: "We were wrong. We were arrogant and foolish. We dismissed your contributions and mocked your efforts to help us. We understand now that we were never your equals. Please, we beg your forgiveness. Return to us. We will accept any terms, any conditions, any price you name. Just save us from what we have brought upon ourselves." The message was signed by every surviving alien leader, sealed with the official stamps of their dying civilizations. The transmission reached human ships throughout the dark spaces between galaxies, but not a single vessel changed course toward the galaxy they had once called home. On the bridge of the command ship New Dawn, Fleet Admiral Seongjin Park listened to the alien pleas with the patience of someone who had heard it all before. "They still don't understand," he said to his aide, Commander Min Ho-jung. "They think this is about forgiveness. They think we're angry with them." "Aren't we, sir?" Seongjin was quiet for a moment, watching the tactical display that showed the galaxy burning. "Anger fades, Commander. What we feel now is something much more permanent. We've learned that some species can't be saved from themselves. In the deepest parts of space, where human scientists worked in laboratories the size of small moons, Dr. Won-Sik Han was putting the finishing touches on humanity's greatest achievement. The quantum barrier generators would ensure that no alien species would ever threaten human civilization again. "The first test was successful," he reported to the Science Council. "We can create an impenetrable barrier around entire star systems. Nothing gets in or out without our permission." The technology was based on principles that alien scientists had dismissed as impossible. Now it would protect human colonies in ways the old galaxy could never imagine. As the messages from the dying aliens continued to pour in, humanity made its final decision. The vote was unanimous among all human leaders, from the president down to local colony governors. They would not return. The galaxy had made its choice when it mocked the hand that fed it. Now it could live with the consequences, or die with them. The Council's desperation had come too late. Humanity had moved on to bigger and better things, and the old galaxy could burn in the darkness it had chosen for itself. The lesson was almost complete. Soon, there would be no one left to learn it. 3 years had passed since humanity left their old galaxy behind. Admiral Hugh J. Lim stood in the command center of New Earth Station, watching the final reports come in from their long-range observation posts. The news was exactly what they had expected. The Nexian Empire fell yesterday, reported Commander Ga-Young Choi. Her voice was steady, even though she was announcing the death of a civilization that had once ruled 1,000 worlds. Their capital planet was consumed by the Devourers along with Emperor Korthval and his entire royal family. The massive tactical display showed a galaxy transformed into a graveyard, where 12 proud species had once ruled over millions of worlds. Now only scattered refugee fleets remained, fleeing deeper into the outer darkness with each passing day. The Devourers controlled nearly the entire galaxy, their mechanical swarms growing stronger with every world they consumed. Dr. Seung-Won Han, head of the Human Colonial Authority, studied the final xenological reports from their spy ships. The Corlin Republic lasted longer than we predicted. Their final transmission indicated they had achieved limited success reverse engineering our medical technology. Too little, too late, Admiral Lim replied without emotion. What about the others? All extinct or beyond our detection range. The Vraxians made it to the Galactic Rim before their ships failed. The Hegemony's last fleet was detected near the Magellanic Clouds, but that was 6 months ago. They're probably dead by now. President Chang Min-yu entered the command center, and everyone snapped to attention. As the elected leader of humanity's new extragalactic confederation, he carried the hopes and dreams of the entire human species. The Colonial Senate has reached its decision, he announced. We begin Phase 2 of the New Eden Protocol. Full expansion into the Andromeda Galaxy starts immediately. Engineer Solbin Park activated the massive holographic display that showed humanity's new empire. In just 3 years, freed from the burden of protecting ungrateful aliens, human civilization had achieved technological breakthroughs that made their old accomplishments look like children's toys. Faster than light communication, networks now connected human colonies across multiple galaxies. Matter replicators could build entire cities in days. Experimental time dilation fields allowed human scientists to conduct research that would have taken centuries in just months. All of this had been developed without needing to share or explain their innovations to species that had called them primitive. The first wave of colony ships has established successful settlements in 27 systems, Solbin reported with pride. Our scouts have identified over 300 habitable worlds within the first spiral arm alone. Admiral Lim studied the expansion maps with deep satisfaction. And our defensive capabilities? General Sang-hoon stepped forward, his uniform bearing the insignia of the new Terran Defense Corps. The TDC was nothing like the old human forces that had protected alien worlds. These soldiers were trained to protect humanity first, last, and always. The quantum barrier generators are fully operational around all primary colonies, he reported. If the Devourers somehow survive long enough to follow us here, they'll find us more than prepared. The irony wasn't lost on anyone in the room. The same alien species that had mocked human military doctrine were now extinct, while humanity thrived in their new galaxy. The Devourers that had seemed unstoppable to the Council were nothing more than an interesting tactical challenge to human forces, equipped with 3 years of uninterrupted technological development. President Yu walked to the observation deck and gazed out at the swirling beauty of Andromeda. Millions of stars stretched out before them, full of worlds waiting to be explored and settled by human families. Dr. Yejin Seo, he called to the elderly historian who managed humanity's cultural preservation projects. What's the status of our memory banks? The gray-haired woman activated her datapad with practiced efficiency. All council species cultures, languages, and scientific achievements have been recorded and preserved in the central archives. Their art, literature, and music will survive even if they didn't. Good. President Yu nodded approvingly. Let future generations understand what we lost when we tried to help those who didn't want our help. And more importantly, let them understand what we gained when we finally walked away. Communications Officer Tae-young Kim looked up from her station with a puzzled expression. Sir, we're still receiving faint distress signals from the Milky Way. Some refugee fleets are still trying to contact us. The command center fell completely silent. Everyone knew that somewhere in the darkness of their old galaxy, a few alien survivors were still desperately calling for help that would never come. After a long moment, President Yu spoke with the finality of a judge passing sentence. Continue monitoring their transmissions for historical purposes, but maintain complete communication silence. They made their choice when they mocked our offered friendship. We will not return to a galaxy that saw us as servants rather than partners. He turned to address the assembled officers, his voice carrying the weight of history. Our children will grow up in a universe where humanity sets the standard for civilization, where our values of cooperation, innovation, and protection are not seen as weaknesses, but as the foundation of a better tomorrow. They will never know the pain of being dismissed by those they tried to help. Through the massive viewports of the station, the lights of human settlements twinkled like new stars across Andromeda's spiral arms. In the distance, construction ships the size of mountains were assembling the framework for New Geneva Station, a diplomatic center where humanity would one day welcome other species as equals, not subjects. Dr. Min-jun Kim, head of xenological research, activated his presentation screen. Our deep space surveys have detected 17 different intelligent species in Andromeda. All of them are at roughly the same technological level as humans were when we first reached the stars. How do we approach them? Asked Admiral Lim. President, Yu smiled for the first time in months. Carefully. We've learned hard lessons about the dangers of giving too much too quickly. We'll share knowledge gradually, and only with species that prove they can be trusted with it. And if they prove to be like the Council species? Asked General O. Then we leave them to develop on their own. President Yu replied firmly. Humanity will never again sacrifice itself for those who don't appreciate the gift. As the meeting ended, the officers dispersed to their duties. The great work of building a new human civilization continued around the clock. Colony ships departed daily for new worlds. Research stations pushed the boundaries of science and technology. Military bases ensured that humanity would never again be vulnerable to alien aggression. On the outer edge of the Andromeda Galaxy, Captain Woo-sung Lee commanded the Deep Space Monitoring Station Eternal Vigil. His job was to watch for any signs that the Devourers had somehow survived and followed humanity to their new home. All sensors show negative contact, reported his sensor operator. The galaxy is clean, sir. Woo-sung nodded. The old galaxy was dead, consumed by the very forces that humanity had once held back. The species that had called humans primitive had learned too late what real civilization looked like, but that was in the past now. Humanity had found something far more valuable than the Council's grudging acknowledgement: the freedom to become what they were always meant to be. Children born in the new colonies would never know the frustration of being underestimated. They would grow up in a civilization that valued human ingenuity and human sacrifice. They would inherit a galaxy where humanity was respected, not feared, admired, not dismissed. The humans had walked away in silence from those who scorned them. And in that silence, they had found their voice, their strength, and their destiny among the stars. The old galaxy could keep its ashes and regrets. Humanity had the future, and it was brighter than any star.